Hola, mi amigo. Mi nombre es Tomo. Mucho gusto. That's my Spanish exhausted, I'm afraid. Welcome everyone. My name is Tomo and this is my pre-race Chinwag for the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix. Marcus, A guy, FRXN, Sem, Human, Stefan, Gladiator, Sam, Michaela. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining me live here on YouTube. Of course, thank you to everyone who's listening to this after the fact on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever you get your lugs only content. Okay, lugs is ears. And is lugs rhyming slang? I'm not actually sure. Oh, look, the intro's rolling again. You know what? We'll play it. It's a great intro. And welcome back, everyone. Thank you to everyone watching after the fact as well. It's a pleasure to have you here with me, Dan, Isabel, Luca, Karina, Francine, Gui, Lauren, Alexander, Adrian, Pitlane Pulse, Froggy, Harsh, Dorian, Raina, Olivia, Mr. Cringe, Mohammed, Ivor, Jordan, Tina. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining me today. Let's talk a little bit about Spain. We've had a week off. It always feels like absolutely ages. And I know I've promised in the past that I'll do these live streams on non-race weekends, but realistically, I don't. I mean, when there's not really stuff to talk about, there's not been a lot of news. We're kind of hoping for a bit of Carlos Science news in this little break, but it doesn't seem to have happened. So, welcome everyone. Thank you all for still being here and still coming along to these to watch this watch this biased Englishman talk about racing cars on the internet. I do appreciate all of your time. So, shall we get into the meat and bones of it? Shall we talk a little bit about Spain? Round 10, Catalonia. The the deal for Madrid is that we will have a Madrid and a Catalonia Grand Prix in 2026, correct? That's my understanding, that Barcelona has a race for this year, for next year, and for 26. Madrid's first one is 26. Correct me if I'm wrong. I literally didn't look that up beforehand. But yeah, so either way, they've made some adjustments to the track. Okay, we know that they've ditched the terrible final chicane. It's still a high-speed, medium-speed corner track, which with dirty air, which is inherent with open-wheeler racing, is always going to make it a bit of a difficult one to overtake, is it not? So, look, I think I really like Catalonia as a track. Okay, it's one of my favourites to race on my sim. It was one of my favourites back in my Forza days when I used to sweat Forza. I loved a bit of Catalonia, and I still enjoy it. I'm doing a F2 career. Well, on the new F1 game, I'm doing a Ayumu Iwasa project, Project Ayumu, to get into Formula One, and I've already done the Catalonia race, the sprint and the feature. But I love that track. It's a good track. It's a good track to drive, and I'd love to visit it. It's one of the more affordable Grand Prix to get to as well. Is Spain, and obviously with Madrid coming on to the calendar from 2026, there's we may well end up losing Catalonia. So if you want to go, you better get in. I better get in. I think next year I'm gonna try and get to this Grand Prix because I'd love to go. I'd love to take in the Spanish fandom as well. Live in person. That'd be a vibe. That would be a vibe. But what happened last time out? Well, not a huge amount. It was a max win by about 23 seconds in the end. But of course, the two, the Dutch filling in a British sandwich right there. Not something we saw very often last year, and not something we've seen very often this year either. Both of the Mercedes boys on the podium. Mercedes ran very well round here last year with their new front wing as well, and George's pace in qualifying, and Lewis's. I mean, I do think if Lewis had qualified where George had, he would have had a better chance at winning that race. I think odds on he would have been right up there, because I think Lewis is still the better race driver, even though George does seem to have the edge over him in qualifying. Also, thank you, Omar, for the super chat. Another Mercedes full stall incoming. Well, You can only have so many false dawns. They had the false dawn in Brazil in 22. They had a bit of a false dawn here last year. Will it actually come true this time round? I mean, look, I had no faith in Mercedes at the start of the year. I felt like, they're the ones who have changed their philosophy to align with the rest at this really late period. McLaren and Ferrari and obviously Red Bull have been on a direction for a good chunk of time now. So it was always going to be a bit of an uphill struggle for Mercedes to not only understand what everyone else is doing, but catch up and then overtake. However, they do have two very, very good drivers behind the wheel, do they not? Especially while Lewis is still here, obviously going to Ferrari next year. We'll see how Kimi Antonelli does, because that's pretty much a done deal, isn't it? Hello, Pete. Good to see you, mate. McLaren 1-2. Do you reckon, son? Do you reckon, Mr. McLaren Fan TV? Well, look, maybe. There's always love for McLaren. McLaren seems to cultivate a very positive reaction amongst my community. So make of that what you will. Surely it's a Dutch sandwich outside the Prix. Yeah, well, true. That's true. No, you know what, Ben? Yeah, you wouldn't call a ham sandwich with ham in the middle a bread sandwich. That is true. That is true. You got me there. I'll be honest. But yeah, all in all, wasn't a crazy... in terms of other bits that happened last year, you had Joe trying to make the move on the outside of Yuki and kind of got pushed off. Debatable, maybe not. What else? You had Ocon defending like a lion against Fernando Alonso. At least they're on different teams this time, so it's a bit more forgivable. Fernando had to do a sudden jink to the right to avoid it. It was, I think, just about on the line. It was close. Not much else, to be honest. Not much else. Max was very, very dominant this weekend. Oh, and Lando caught damage, didn't he, on turn 1, lap 1. Contact with Lewis, broke his front wing end plate. Not really debatable. Yuki pushed him off. I think it is debate. I think it's debatable. I think most things in life are debatable, and I think that is. I think he did just, but he did leave him some space. There was a bit of space. Joe bowed out of it quite early on, but then again, you kind of have to at that corner in order to go around the bollard. So time will tell. Time will tell. Oh yeah, George's sweat as well. George's sweat was a moment. Another George Russell moment. Love it. Thank you, Outlaw, as well, for the super chat. Another Max Masterclass, or Maxterclass, as you put it. Very, very nicely there. Maxterclass in Spain. Listen, Red Bull, they've claimed they're bringing upgrades this race as well. On top of the fact that this track does seem to play to their strengths. It's smooth as you like, so no worrying about curbs, high and medium speed corners throughout. This surely, if any track suits the Red Bull absolutely down to the ground, it's this one. And the deficit, again, Lewis 23 seconds behind Max by the end. We'll see. If nothing goes wrong, you'd think this is going to be a given for Max Verstappen, wouldn't you? But the chance of nothing unlikely happening is in itself unlikely in life, generally. How did Perez finish last year? Not good enough. He wasn't on the podium. I don't actually know where Checo finished last year. Does anyone in chat know? So here are the driver standings after 9 of 24 weekends. Max has, of course, extended his lead after the Ferrari disaster class in Canada. Perez was 8th. Was Perez 8th around here last year? On a track that plays to that car's strengths. That's crazy. But yeah, shocker from Ferrari last weekend. So that gap between Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen opens up to 56 points, 194 to 138. And of course, Lando 131 catching right up, only 7 points behind Charles now. The thing is, what makes a championship battle less likely is the fact that, there's not a consistent, clear second best team. And it's kind of like the fact that the McLaren and the Ferrari and maybe the Mercedes now are all really close to the Red Bull is spreading those points. And as long as Max is consistently finishing on the podium, which if he's finishing a race, he's finishing on the podium because he's that good and the car is that adept around most tracks, he's going to win the title. But I don't think it's going to be easy for him. I don't think at all. But this weekend, on the other hand, maybe it will be. Maybe it will be. Checo was Checo 8th or 4th? Half of you telling me he's 8th and half of you telling me he was 4th. Well, look, he's got an opportunity here to atone for what was a shocker, and he should be better this weekend. I'm confident he will do a better job. Would he get on the podium? I'm not sure if he'll get on the podium, but I'm confident he'll do a much better job this weekend. But we'll see about that. Yeah, so otherwise, there's not too much. Obviously, Mercedes, you know, if they've found performance now, I mean, they're down in terms of driver standards. 69 points for George. Nice. 55 for Lewis. Time will tell. Time will tell. Perez was 4th. Okay, Perez was 4th. There's enough of you telling me Perez was 4th. And as for the team standings, of course, which, you know, how much do the constructors actually matter to the teams? The teams, of course, will always claim it does. And I guess the thing is, right, when you got a driver winning the Drivers' Championship, that's the one that gets all the plaudits. And, of course, when you... literally yesterday, I got recommended on my YouTube algorithm the Abu Dhabi 2021 highlights. So I watched them back. Just for a bit of if you ever want a bit of adrenaline, just watch that back and just remember. Jeez. And I bring that up. Why did I even bring that up? What was I meant to mention? Oh, for crying out loud. I brought that up for a reason. I've completely forgotten why I brought that up. And yeah, I literally can't remember. My brain's gone. My brain's completely gone. I can't remember why I brought that up. Oh, I remember. Because the video that got recommended to me was actually from Formula 1, and it was a side-by-side of the final lap with Max's garage. And it's like, you know, that win was celebrated, and obviously it's because of the context of how it happened, right? Last lap or whatever. But I feel like a celebration for a Drivers' Championship won on the final day, on the final race, final lap, whatever, is going to always be celebrated more than winning a Constructors on the final day or the final whatever. But yeah, like if Max had already won the Drivers' title before Abu Dhabi, and then Red Bull, even though Red Bull didn't get the Constructors, so that's a bad analogy. What I'm saying is, I think even the team really, especially the mechanics who actually work on the car, they would, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong here, but I think they would celebrate a Drivers' Championship win with more intensity and more feel than a Constructors, in my opinion. But either way, prize money is a thing. So, but then of course, you know, with this sliding ATR scale, you know, McLaren, you've got to say, they were trash at the start of last year. They were P6 in the Constructors by the time the ATR reset happened. So they had like 95% ATR allocation, whereas Red Bull had like 63 because of their penalty, and Ferrari and Mercedes all had like 75, 80. So it actually paid dividends in the long term for McLaren being so rubbish at the start of last year. There you go. Still no points for Sauber. Don't see that changing this weekend at all. But what do I see happening? What are my predictions for the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix? Well, I said it earlier. The chance of nothing unlikely happening is in itself unlikely. So my race winner for the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix is not Max Verstappen. Lewis. I've gone with Lewis. Ran very well here last year. If he cannot bottle qualifying, which I don't care, I'd love to know, but I don't know. So I don't really, how much of it is the team or him or whatever. If Lewis doesn't bottle qualifying, I think he's got a great chance in the race. Does this require Max to have an issue? Probably. Could he? Maybe. Will he? We'll see. This is a prediction. Okay. That one went down well in the chat. The chance of nothing unlikely happening is in itself unlikely, everyone. Okay. We'll come back to this on Monday, and I'll wallow in my No, you know what? I'm not going to wallow. I'm going to bask in my genius. Right. Both Mercs and Q2, I'd say. It's going to go one way or the other, isn't it? They're either going to be hot or they're going to be hot garbage. So my race winner is Lewis Hamilton. Banger Drive is not Mercedes. I've gone with, and I know, like, I feel like it's getting closer between the two of them, but I'm still going Nico Hülkenberg. I still think he's got the edge on Magnussen. He's not as chaotic as K-Mag. But also the Haas upgrades, I saw a quote from Ao Komatsu, sorry, butchered that completely. And he expects the Haas upgrades that they've brought to the car most recently to excel more at a track like Catalonia than they would have around Canada, would have around Monaco. So I'm expecting a bit of an uptick in performance from Haas. And I think Nico is the guy to extract said performance. We'll see. What are you smoking? I'm smoking vibes. That's what I'm smoking. And he always goes well in qualifying. Exactly, Oliver. And around a track like Catalonia where it's hard to overtake, and that's where the most doubt in my mind is around this Lewis Hamilton shout. Because if he messes up qualifying again, then he's going to really struggle to move through the field. But if he can actually extract the pace in quali and not bottle it for whatever reason, then I think he'll be in a very good place. Clanger Drive, who's going to have a stinker this weekend? Logan Sargent. It was a difficult Grand Prix in Canada. He knows his time at that team is over. We know he's not going to be in that car next year. He knows he's not going to be in that car next year. And, I mean, he needs to pull out something crazy to give himself a chance of staying in F1. I mean, even if he, absolutely dumps on Alex for the next 5-6 races, I think by then the other seats will have all been accounted for, really, even if it's just behind the scenes and not actually publicly announced. I think it's unfortunate. He had a really bad Canada. The momentum is down, and he knows he's losing his seat as well. It's tough. It's tough. It's not nice. It's not a nice thing to watch someone, like a driver, struggling like this. But it's Formula One, and it's sport, and it's the highest level, arguably the highest level of motorsport. And he's not been good enough, and I think that's very fair to say. So, yeah, unfortunately, Logan, I don't expect much from him this weekend. Banger team, I've gone with Mercedes. I think they clearly know how to go quick around here. They did it last year with a worse car than they have, a less competitive car than they have this year. I think you'd expect George to have the edge over Lewis in qualifying. Hope finally Lewis can actually find something, because I feel like Lewis is the one who is more likely to actually convert the opportunity. Way more likely to convert the opportunity than George. George has got too much of a mistake in him. He just does. I made a whole video about it. And then in Canada, he made 3 big errors, and which all cost him. So it's I just don't... And clearly how much Toto's been flirting with Max and, hyping up. I just think that if Toto fully with chest believed in George Russell to lead this team forward, why would he be even entertaining Max Verstappen? Why wouldn't he just lock this driver lineup down months ago? So, sorry everyone, Josh has just arrived. We got to start again. Sorry, Josh has just arrived. Right, hang on, let me do. Hola, mi amigo. Welcome to... Sorry, Josh. Sorry. I thought I'd just make you feel that center of attention for a brief moment. Okay. If you're not watching this live, you kind of won't have got that. But Josh turned up in chat and asked me to start again. So I thought we might think about it. But there we go. Imagine if I did it again and all my predictions were just suddenly different. That would have taken some more Photoshop effort beforehand, though. Not to be this time. And then Clanger team. Aston Martin. I do not believe that they are going to bring the heat. Sauber would have been the easy pick. Okay, Sauber would have been the easy pick. But I think with Mercedes taking a step forward, I think Haas are going to be good this weekend. I think Williams seem to be moving in a good direction. I could see nil point for Aston Martin this weekend. Absolutely. I could absolutely see that. Nil point for Aston Martin. That is my prediction. I mean, and you say that as well, Sir Lancelot out in Q1 incoming, but Fernando in quali pace has been struggling these last few races. So that also, it's like, if Fernando and Lance are both, if Fernando's getting out qualified by Lance, that is because Fernando's having a bad day and multiple bad days. That's not because Lance is somehow as good as Fernando Alonso. Like, come on, seriously. But around a track like Spain, just like I said with Lewis, and the big caveat about Lewis winning this race is that if he bottles qualifying, it's going to be tough because you can't really overtake around Catalonia. So I feel like Aston are going to struggle in quali. I could see them both going out in Q2, maybe even Q1, and 0 points on the board, which is not good because Racing Bulls, with Yuki especially, cooking at the minute. I know he messed up in Canada, but that's pretty much the only glaring mistake he's made this year, apart from his petulance in Bahrain. It's difficult. Thank you, Subdeep, by the way, for the super chat. Hi, Tomo. If you were a team principal, who would you pick between Checo and Ricciardo for a team to lead for a world championship? Oh, bro. Are there any other options? Oh, so you've got... Oh, God. Well... I think there's two ways of answering that question, Subdeep. I think in a Red Bull, and then in any other team other than Red Bull. I think in a Red Bull, in the RB20, I reckon Daniel the team would be able to get a better version of Daniel out of that car than they can get out of Checo. But at any other team, I would probably pick Checo. I think those very specific characteristics that the Red Bull requires to maximise it, and the evidence on that is that Gasly and Albon and Checo are all proven quality, yet have all really struggled in that. Whereas Oscar's getting close to Lando, Carlos is getting close to Charles, Lewis and George are very close. Not one lap pace has been, but even the average gap's not that big. Yeah, I feel like at Red Bull, I would say Ricciardo, but at any other team, I think Sergio. I would probably pick Sergio, just based off them two right now today. That's what I'd say. That's the vibes I'm going for. So, and obviously you've said lead for a world championship, so I'm assuming it wouldn't be like a Haas or a Sauber. But yeah, I just think, even in those smaller teams, I feel like Sergio, I feel like that he could make it work. I think he would be given a much better account of himself, and he'd be held in much higher esteem if he was at a worse team, ironically. I do. I absolutely believe that. Look at his track record, look at his CV. It's so many years of consistently very, very, very good. And then to Red Bull, where all these careers come to die, sadly. But thank you for the super chat. And thank you, Gladiator, as well. First time since Jeddah that Sargent will have the same spec as Albon. He was quick in Canada quali but got held up. I think a big, good weekend coming from Logan. You know what, Gladiator? It's a good point. I think given the clear preference in Williams towards Alex Albon, and I think Alex has merited being given the preferential treatment. If you're gonna prioritize one driver, you're gonna prioritize Alex. But that does mean that you're right. Like, Williams haven't been able to roll out the full upgrades to both cars. Logan's, getting bits and bobs, but he's not getting the full, complete spec that Alex is, and that is not that's not helping, is it, in the gap between the two? And this is, I think I backed Logan for a very long time, and I think now I've seen enough to be like, okay, even with that caveat, even with the fact that he's not getting the upgrades at the same rate as Alex, the mistakes, the fact that the pace is there, but then it's never there when it needs to be there. It's that constant, the regular letting of himself down, almost like demonstrating something's there, but then never executing it when it needs to be. That's not an upgrade thing. You're driving on the edge, right? And we talk about it with George. George goes over the cusp, and Charles will crash, Max crashed happen. Like, a lot of these drivers have it in periods of their career, but also they back it up enough of the other times to be like, all right, we can live with this driver who's a bit crashy. The problem is with Logan, he's just not. I always go back to Saudi last year. Logan out-qualified Alex in Saudi, would have got through to Q2. Alex would have been out in Q1, but he went over that bloody white line. And if he hadn't done that, who knows how that momentum of him getting it would have been like 2-1 to Alex in quali then. He would have got a quali dub over Alex very early on. Who knows how that momentum could have changed the course of things. Maybe nothing, but maybe the butterfly effect would have been real. And he would have actually, that would have given him confidence, that then, etc., etc., etc. But it's not to be, and I think they've given him more than enough opportunity. Even though he's not at the fully spec car at all times, I still believe they've given him enough of an opportunity. But I do think it is a fair point, and I think that's why I backed Logan for as long as I did. But I am saying that in past tense because I do think he's had enough opportunity now, and we'll see. But the tyre bias for Alex Albon is true, is very true. Okay, right, so those are my predictions anyway for the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix. But what about yours? 1,312 of you voted in the poll. Thank you for voting. If you've subscribed on YouTube, which of course you do, if you don't, you better do it right now. Otherwise, a thing will happen that is maybe good or bad. You don't want to risk it, so I think you'd probably make sure you're subscribed and like the video and give it 5 stars if you're listening on audio only devices. So I actually posted the polls originally and forgot to activate the poll. And I only realised about an hour later when I was on the train, more than an hour later, and I saw loads of messages being like, "Tommo, the poll's not active." And I was like, oh, my bad. But I got it active in the end, and 1,312 of you voted. So, race winner, your predictions for the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix. And thank you, Berko, for gifting a membership. Very kind of you. Max Verstappen, 57% of the votes, ahead of Lando Norris, 15%, Carlos Sainz, 9%, and Oscar Piastri, 6%. You've not got a Mercedes driver in the top 4 at all. And you've actually got Sainz ahead of Charles. Obviously, Spanish Grand Prix, home Grand Prix for Carlos. Very vamos, indeed. Very vamos, indeed. Banger drive this weekend. Very even spread, in fact. The winning vote only got 15% of the vote, but it was more than anyone else. Oscar Piastri. Again, you lot love him. You keep giving Oscar banger drive. 15% of the vote. 14% Carlos Sainz, 14% Lewis Hamilton, 12% Lando Norris. Will this be the time that Oscar Piastri converts the dub? Look, if he keeps knocking on the door, right? Keep knocking on that door. Eventually, you'd like to think Max will open it for him and be like, "Oh no, I went onto the grass. Oscar Piastri wins." Because Max seems to enjoy it when other people win more than he does. So yeah, hopefully Oscar delivers a banging result. Tyre preservation around Catalonia is tough. It's tough. I found when I was doing my Ayumu Asa career mode on F2, on the F124 game, I was doing a sprint race and it put me on soft tyres, and literally the first run, I got a puncture, and it wouldn't let me change the tyre, it wouldn't let me change the compound to something else because everyone else was running on softs as well. So I was on softs, and then I had to rerun the race, and then I literally got to the end with like 98% tyre wear. So there you go. That's my insight as a video game man. We'll see. So I'm concerned about the tyre preservation. I don't know if he's got that in him. But also, again, I think that's where Lewis has an advantage over George Russell, and it will pay dividends around a track like Catalonia, where it's a very, very high load on the Pirellis, just because of the nature of the corners. So we'll see. Clanger Drive, Checo, 24% of the vote, ahead of Zhou Guanyu, Lance Stroll, and Daniel Ricciardo on 11, 9, and 8% respectively. Yes, Checo, just qualify good, please, just get to Q3. Like, if he can be that's the problem, right? Again, because how it's tightened up. If he's 3.5 tenths off of Max, say, that's probably putting him 5th, 6th, 7th if he can get into Q3, because some of the Q2 gaps are tight and all. So yeah, I don't know. Based off of last year, he had a stinker last year in qualifying, didn't he? So hopefully it's not the same again. But there's more competition for those podium places now than there was this time last year, and that's where it's going to be. It's going to be difficult for him. But yeah, Zhou Guanyu's been very disappointed. To be honest, like, I know a lot of you. What's the word? For the my positioning, my marketing of my Zhou Guanyu is perfect for Audi video was a bit dubious, right? And I think commercially he is perfect for Audi, commercially. But I've got to say, I've really been disappointed in Zhou. I was expecting much more from him. And I think as Bottas has gotten better, Zhou seems to have almost somewhat regressed. And I think there was definitely a time, and I think start of this year even, like, I had a really good race in Bahrain, first Grand Prix of the year. I was like, yeah, I think Zhou, given time, he can be, he could function as a Bottas for Audi. But now I'm like, actually, you know what? I was wrong. He's not delivering performances that I thought, based on that first couple of years, he had the ability to do. But hey, we're all wrong about things. It's just I put my wrong things on the internet so that everyone has receipts for the rest of time. What a choice, eh? Thank you, Aleph, for gifting a membership as well. Very kind of you. Much appreciated it. And then, yeah, Stroll, Ricciardo. I think Stroll will be all right. Ricciardo needs big results ASAP, right? You could lose that seat to Lawson. He could well lose that seat to Lawson if he doesn't pull his finger out consistently. It's all well and good having those peaks, but you need consistency. Maybe the Jacques Villeneuve fire under his bum will ignite something. Time will tell. Banger team. 35% of you went McLaren, which of course, yeah, they, historically it has been the slow speed stuff which they struggle on, and high medium speed they are pretty good. So it's compelling arguments for a lot of teams here. There really are. So you've gone 35% McLaren, 21% Ferrari. Can't forget about Ferrari. Cannot forget. Charles Leclerc is the closest to Max in the championship fight. 15% Mercedes, 12% Red Bull. Interesting. So there is belief in all those top 4 teams. That's what that tells me. There's belief in all of those top 4 teams that they can actually bring potentially podium, if not race-winning performance, which is exciting. I like that. And then finally, Clanger team. Sauber, shock. 31% of the vote. 21% Alpine. 14% Aston Martin, 9% Mercedes. Oh, Alpine. I wonder if we'll hear anything this weekend about that article suggesting that they're thinking of turning Alpine into a customer team. Very... that behaviour is just... I've made a video about it. You can watch that. And there we go. Those are your predictions for the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix. These are my predictions. So I've gone Lewis, Nico, Logan, Mercedes, Aston Martin. You've gone Max, Oscar, Checo, McLaren, Sauber. I think this is one of the first times we've all gone different. Because, I mean, again, I can't prove this, right? For all you know, I look at yours and I'm like, oh, I'm going to selectively choose who I'm going to put in this category because I don't want people on the internet to be angry. It doesn't work like that, right? It doesn't matter what opinion you hold, there will be people on the internet who will be angry at you. So there's no point lying, right? It's more fun for me to just do my own predictions, right? Do these ones and then be like, right, what do you lot come up with? Oh my God, it's either the same or different. Either way, game's the game, innit? Game's the game. Well, we'll see, Gladiator. We'll see if chat's smarter than me on Monday, right? When we reflect on your predictions and mine and see who came out on top. I'm backing myself here. I'm backing it. I'm backing it, all right? Okay, cool. Right, we've been going for 40 minutes. Do we have any further? Here's the thumbnail again. And me again. Hello. Hang on. Shall I try and recreate the thumbnail face? Right, it's like this. So it's closest to the screen. Basically the same. Right, what else is there to talk about before we wrap this one up? Porsche, yes, interesting. Obviously, Nolan Siegel scored a podium at Le Mans in LMP2. No, a win at Le Mans, sorry, in LMP2 for United Autosport, which is co-owned by Zak Brown. And now, all of a sudden, he is taking Théo Pourchaire's IndyCar McLaren seat for the remainder of the year, which came as a bit of a shock. Everyone kind of expected when Malukas got his injury, and then, which I know a lot of people weren't happy about, and to be honest, I don't really understand enough of the nuance to comment, but basically Malukas got injured, McLaren then let him go, and Pourchaire came in to replace him and was planning on doing the rest of the year, and now all of a sudden they've changed that seat again and put Siegel in there. And yeah, I mean, as much as Zak Brown's a very happy, chatty, la la la, he makes those calls when he feels like he needs to. So yeah, a bit tough on Théo, that for sure. You feel like it's such a Teo's not even in the conversation for an F1 seat in 25, is he? I've not seen him mentioned at all, even at Sauber. Because you think, Hülkenberg, Pourchaire, Sauber Junior alongside Nico Hülkenberg, the potential for that lineup, I think, would be quality. But he's not even being considered, seemingly, which is much a shame. Much a shame. Oh yes, Rayner, good shout. Red Bull as well, not too happy about potential flexible front wings on the McLaren and the Ferrari. I think maybe not the Mercedes. I think it was just the McLaren and the Ferrari, because obviously Mercedes changed their front wing. Apparently, yeah, flex tests aren't bringing it up, and Red Bull are a bit unhappy about it. I mean, do what you got to do to catch Red Bull, right? Mercedes, McLaren, or was it Mercedes, McLaren and Ferrari? So it's Mercedes as well. Interesting. Last Catalonia Spanish Grand Prix before. So F1 Madrid. Is it? I thought it was 2026, no? Yeah, it is 2026. Is Ricciardo at risk? Ricciardo needs to step it up for sure. Otherwise, Liam Lawson is ready to pounce. But will Daniel's peaks and his commercial interests be enough to get him over the line and get him an extension? Time will tell. Right, I think we're done. I would grab Minton, but he is... Well, I can't quite see him, but he's out at the back of the garden. So we're going to have to wait until Monday for the post-race stream. Okay. I'm sorry, everyone. Thank you all for coming, though, wherever you are in the world. Don't forget again to like the stream if you're here on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed if you're listening on audio only devices, whatever that may be. Make sure you give a rating, 5-star, all that good stuff. Thank you, live chat. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Abhinav, Francine, Boop, Jojo, Josiah, Scrap Metal, Alif, Burko, Mwist, Michael, definitely not the FIA, Unlikeness, Gladiator, Christian, FH4 player, Josiah, Jerome, SF. Don't read my username. I will. Dr. Grass, Sam, Bass, Rachel, Luca, Sava, Awkward, Jojo, Rhiannon, Oodles, Boop, Christopher, Omar, Theo. Whenever I say Theo now, I always think Teo because of Teo Porsche. Isabel, Monster Matt, McFillin, Chira, Chris, Tank, DTM, Dimmy, Dorian, Nicholas. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for giving me your time in your day. Stay hydrated. Drink water from a purple and pink bottle if you have one. Or just any bottle. Or just, as long as it's purified, like in Fallout. Thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.